In life, we all make decisions. Some are really, really great decisions, the best ever. Like, look back on some of the really most fantastic decisions that you've ever made, better choices in your life that brought you to a great place. But on the other hand, there are also a few decisions that we make, well, they're rather, well, stink. For no other better way to say it without being not polite. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Jan. Welcome to another episode on this channel, the Save Money More Jen channel. Let's talk specifically today about some money decisions that perhaps we have made in the past that, well, stink. And this is really good for somebody that's just listening and never made this kind of decision. Hopefully, will avoid this kind of decision. Spending to impress. Spending tons and tons of money that you really don't have on someone that you really don't even know and trying to kind of like without you realizing it, buying their love, spending to impress to make someone quote end of quote love you. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. If a person doesn't care for you as a person, just the way you are, in my opinion, if you have to, if the only way they hang out with you, whatever is like, you just got to keep spend, spend, spend. I don't know. I would question the validity of that situation. I would think twice. I would not proceed. And anyway, it's just not wise financially. Spending to impress is just not wise, in my honest opinion. It's just not a good thing. Just not a good thing. So try not to do that. Another thing, financial decisions that people make that aren't the really greatest ones of all are confusing priorities. This could happen to anyone. People confuse priorities. What do I mean by that? People mix up their wants versus their needs. They really, really think they need something, but it's actually a want. Now, I know this takes practice. It does not happen overnight because we live in a world where of consumerism, where things are like thrown at us and we're taught to believe maybe perhaps that we may need that bright, shiny penny or object or whatever. And perhaps you do, perhaps you don't. This takes practice, honing the practice of deciphering the difference between a want versus a need. So many people have made stinky decisions, bought things thinking they needed them, and it's still sitting somewhere collecting dust. How many times has that ever happened to you? Especially around the holidays, right? That's like a vulnerable period of time, I would say, for a lot of people. Even if the item went on sale and you got a good price, if you don't use that thing, then there's no value. That's how I look at it. I don't know. How do you look at it? I don't know. It could happen to anybody. Let me ask you a question. If a person has 10 million bucks, 10 million bucks, all right, and they spend all of it unwisely, they end up with not much, right? That is exactly the same to the person that has 10,000 bucks and they spend that unwisely. Guess what? They end up in the same place. What? It doesn't matter the numbers in the beginning. What matters are the numbers at the end. At the end of it, people could end up at that same zero place by making poor decisions, making snap judgment decisions, making let's say putting money in things that they don't really understand or know about. It's very important to get knowledgeable about the thing that you're entertaining on spending on, even if it sounds good, even if it sounds logical. Sometimes you just have to ask around. Go to the professionals, ask those people if you have any doubts about certain things that you may want to do with your money, investing wise, for example. Always, always, always check and consult with professionals that are in that field. Okay? Just saying, just saying, just saying. So we all make mistakes. Okay? We all make money mistakes. The thing is this, what have we learned from them? Has anyone out there been there and done that? Let me know in the comment section below. These decisions do stink, but there is a good remedy for it. We learned a lesson. I always say this, past mistakes are future lessons learned. They really are. So don't look at it as an old bad thing. No, it's a good thing. But never, ever, ever try to buy someone's love. If they don't love you for who you are, no, 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 no. If they're just loving you because of the things that can you imagine how stressful that has to be? I'm just thinking about this for a minute. I am just thinking about this for a minute. It's like having to constantly keep up with something that's not you. spending money that you do not have, that does not exist. That is awful. And then to think, I mean, also, if you think about it, it's a very poor representation of yourself. In a weird way, it is actually dishonest. It is not an honest representation of yourself. So, yeah, besides all the financial stress, there's the emotional attachment that goes with that person is thinking one thing about you, but the reality is when they finally peel back the banana to find out who you really are and what you really have or do not have, then that's the test of time. That person sticks around with you. Wow, that person really cares for you. Okay. And that person says, bye bye, see you later. It's too much stress. It's dishonest and it's wrong. So, and that's kind of sort of the same in a different level when people keep up with the Joneses. Remember that expression? People say, oh, they want to keep up with the Joneses. People on the same block trying to re impress each other. Who's got the better car? You know, two people may have the exact same car on the same block. Guess what? One person was able to outrightly get it. Maybe they bought it secondhand, got a great price. They're not in any sort of debt whatsoever because they bought the thing outright at a great price. And then another person is still paying months and months and months of car payment loans, car loan payments. Wow. Look at that same two identical cars on the same identical block. However, two different people, two different situations. One made the really wise choice of saying, you know what, I'm going to get the best price. I could afford this. They did their math as opposed to these long, 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 forever, taking like forever and a day kind of a car loan. You know, a lot of people, I want to just elongate this point for a second. A lot of people, if you look back at their history, have their difficulties with financials, it goes back to something very quite simplistic. Okay. And the simplistic thing is this: they got soaked in up to the neck on car repayments, car loans. That can really eat up your budget alive. I mean, honestly, it is just it is to the person's detriment. And it goes back to the old thing, in my honest. If I can't afford to buy something outright, I will either A, not get the best possible price, get it secondhand, anything, anything that will work within my means. That is really, really important, you know? And another thing, here's a really good key: learning to live on less. Learn to live on less than what you bring in. I mean, it sounds so simplistic. Learning to live on less than what you bring in. If you learn to live on less than what you bring in, you are more than likely never going to fall into the rabbit hole of DEBT. I'm debt free. I hope that you're debt free listening. Some people are debt free in progress, getting debt free, getting closer and closer to debt free, and that is great. Every time you try your very best to knock that down and not fall into the rabbit hole again, I say kudos to that. Things don't happen overnight. Things happen with trial and error and mistakes. We're not born frugally. We may have good influencers. Let's say if your parents were reasonably frugal, that's a great start. Not everybody's parents are very reasonably frugal. Some parents are not frugal at all. Some parents are moderately frugal. So if you have good example in front of you, isn't it much easier? But many of us had to learn on our own. Okay. It's not like when a person is born, let's say, with brown hair, okay, or brown eyes, for example. It's not like that. You're not born with a frugal gene in you. You're born with the environment you might see. But at the end of the day, we are the CEOs of our lives. We are the ones that make the choices. We can make the choices to live on less and never getting into debt, or we could just pretend, put blind eye on, and just could care less, and then suffer all the repercussions from all those bad, stinky decisions.